national sovereignty, and allow themselves to be ruled in a new fashion, not a democratic fashion, by the expert community, the scientific community. Now, we've seen all the farces and all the rest of it. Weather modification has been under the go for years now, daily across the world. I've got thousands of photographs. I gave up after my computer was full of them. And it's the same story. People with bronchial problems after heavy spraying, the weather manipulation, rain or drought, you can do both. You can disperse clouds or create them. And we've been under this for years. We're living in Disneyland. If you listen to mainstream media, you're taught to disregard your own senses and what you see yourself. And then they give us, since 2001, one shock and awe technique after another, because that was to kick off the century of change that they talked about in academia. Change is good, right? That's something you used to say to the shopkeeper when you got something back from $1. Change is good. This change, no one asks what they mean by it. They just part it like sheep. One crisis after another. So we get the terrorism attack. There's terrorists everywhere. There's terrorists under the bed, replacing the Reds under the bed. We're all suspected terrorists. But the West Nile flu nonsense that didn't go anywhere except a lot of fines for people who had puddles accumulating in their eaves troughs, even when they live in swampy areas like Canada. Back with more on this after this break. Hi folks, I am Alan Watt and we're cutting through the matrix talking about the crisis after crisis, the shock and awe techniques we've had since 2001. From the towers going down, terrorists are everywhere across the world suddenly, and it could be you in fact, and then they found that very almost albino old grannies and with white hair were being searched at airports and then bend over and all this kind of stuff, training the whole world to be humiliated. That's part of it, of totalitarianism. They have no rights. And they get guys walking through airports holding up their belts. Another humiliating technique, you see, that they use in prison camps. And we're all suspects. Therefore, everything that we do has to be monitored, watched, monitored, photographed. They're even putting cameras up. Massive campaign in Britain to put cameras up in a lot of people's homes now, by law. And if they pick on you, you can't stop them. And they come, and they put up the cameras in every bedroom, your bathroom, your living room, to watch you all the time. Big Brother Orwell is here, alive and doing well. That's to come to America shortly, because they wanted that. Like in the 70s, it first came out to the American Psychological Association. They said they'd like to monitor all the people for pre-arrest. They could prevent arrest by seeing if there's any hint of possible aggression coming, like a bad look or a frown or something like that. It's all coming down now, under the guise of terrorism. And we've had, as I say, the bank crash. We're all plundered by the big bankers on cue, because it was planned, even the time I'm sure was planned too. And then the governments across the world reward the bankers by our tax money and generations to come to pay it off. And it's all one happy family once again, as they keep the same system going. And now we must now give ourselves up to the scientific community to inject full of poisons and stuff. The same scientific community that has been used for biowarfare, because the big pharma companies that deal with vaccines have the most information on viruses and bacterium. That's why they are always used for bacterial warfare purposes. And I've read some of the articles and mentioned some of the big boys and stuff that was released by the Pentagon. I've read that before on the air, that that's what they're used for. So they want to now stick stuff in you for a flu that, if it exists at all, is definitely very mild. So mild you won't know you've had it, according to most of the doctors out there. So why all the incredible overreaction doesn't make sense. It stinks. Especially if it hasn't mutated into a killer virus, which would mean the present inoculations, or the ones that are coming up with, will be useless. So something else is going on. And it could be another training exercise to get us all used to just taking whatever they want year after year. That is what they said at the World Meeting of the World Health Organization, another private body, by the way, unelected, back in 2006. This article here is from the LA Times, September the 25th. It says, germ-spreading school children are expected to be the focus of a massive U.S. vaccination campaign against the novel, I'd say it's novel all right, it's rather farcical, H1N1 flu. But if their parents are hearing the rallying cry to have their children vaccinated, they're not buying it, says a new national survey. In a poll of 1,678 U.S. parents conducted by the University of Michigan's C.S. Mott Children's Hospital, 40% said they would get their children immunized against the H1N1 virus, even as 54% indicated they would get their children vaccinated against regular seasonal flu. Among those who said they do not intend to have their children vaccinated against the H1N1, almost half, 46%, indicated they're not worried about their children becoming ill with the pandemic virus. 20 parents said they do not believe the H1N1 flu is a serious disease. See, that's roughly the percentage of the people that are awake to other things too. There were differences along racial and ethnic lines in parents' responses, which were collected August the 13th to August the 31st. More than half of Latino parents said they would bring their children to get vaccinated against H1N1. Among white parents, 38% would do so. African American parents were the least inclined to vaccinate. 30% said they planned to do so. Half the parents who said they'd pass on the H1N1 flu shot for their children expressed concern about possible side effects of the vaccine. See, people are thinking, you see, thank goodness about that. They're thinking about it. Now, one of the big players in this is making money through, it's amazing too. See, this is exactly the system that Quigley talks about, this new feudal system where big pharma, big private international corporations dictate to government and government mandates something into law on behalf of them. What a great deal. If you're a manufacturer and you got the government to mandate that everyone must wear your shoes or your clothes or whatever it happens to be, isn't it? What a fantastic deal that would be. Win-win situation. Fascism, they used to call that, you see. Mail Online, and it says here, this is September the 20th, paralyzed cancer drug girl to be put on at-risk register to shut her up. The mother, who was planning legal action against a pharmaceutical giant claiming her daughter was left partially paralyzed after having anti-cancer vaccine, has been told the teenager is to put on the social services at-risk register. I read this before. So here's someone complaining about it, taking an action out, and the authorities are whacking you. Cheryl Cave says allegations that she's abusing. This is how it came back. Oh, you must be abusing your child. As soon as she put the lawsuit in against the big pharma and the government. She's abusing her 13-year-old daughter, Ashley, in an attempt to shut her up as she's demanding an investigation into the safety of a drug used to protect girls against the HPV virus that causes cervical cancer. Now, it's always so misleading because they haven't proven that it works, number one. And it's only going to cover 2 or 3 of the hundreds of papillomaviruses that are out there. Back with more after this break.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
Alan Watt, we're cutting through the matrix, going through how governments now are targeting parents who come out trying to sue the pharma or government when their children get paralyzed with the supposed, and I say supposed, anti-cancer vaccine that's been mandated again. Mandated, you know, mandates are different from law. It's a new governance system. Well, they say it's our policy that you must take this, you see. That's what government's getting around all the laws, you see. They're just mandating things. This is a new governance system where experts mandate and you obey. That's it. That's what it is. So, as I say, this particular girl collapsed shortly after being given the jab at school and spent nearly a year in hospital. Ashley Cave, in their photographs here with her mum Cheryl, was left paralyzed from the waist down after taking a cervical cancer drug. This is happening quite frequently, by the way. And